680,000.
680,000.
680,000.
680,000 people killed in Gaza.
And it's horrific.
At this point, I don't think you're stupid. I think you're retarded. So stick around to the end because I'm going to show you exactly why this number is bullshit, why this one is not the number of people killed by Israel, and why that shows you that the genocide claim is baseless. Trust me, you're gonna love this one. This number comes from an article called Skewering History by Richard Hill and Gideon Holian. Neither is a conflict demographer or a casualty statistician by training. The number 680,000 is not a direct fact, a count of people killed, or based in any measurement, but a projection multiplied by another projection. What the hell do you mean, Yon? Let me explain. The Lancet made an estimation back in June of 2024 of a total of 64,000 deaths in Gaza, which was double what Hamas was claiming, and projected that if the same rate continues of that estimation, the death rate could reach 136,000 by April of 2025. It was a forecast, not a reality. Obviously, we've reached that date, and that prediction is very, very far off, even according to Hamas. So Dick and Gideon took this prediction number and multiplied it by 5. Why 5? Because they based a 4-to-1 ratio on an epidemiology estimate by Professor Devi Sridhar that in wars, for every one direct death, there could be 4 indirect deaths due to hunger, disease, lack of medicine, etc., etc. The problem is that all of these causes are already counted in Hamas's death toll of 65,000. So, the connection between this number and reality is like Palestinian peace offers. Non-existent. Which leads us to the number 65,000, because it's thrown around like that's the number of Gazans killed by Israel. In reality, that's a number of total people that died in Gaza from all causes since October 7th. Even according to the Gazan Health Ministry and the UN. That's how they label it. That includes natural deaths, Gazans executed by Hamas like Amira and Siraj, who their family detailed how Hamas killed them and hold Hamas entirely responsible. And they appear in the Gazan death toll list. It obviously also includes the terrorists killed in the war, the 2,000 to 4,000 rockets fired by Gazans that fail and fall on Gazans, like 40-year-old Salem, who died from a malfunctioning rocket that fell in Gaza and is in the Gazan death toll list. So, what is the actual number of uninvolved civilians killed by Israel? Let's start with the natural deaths. The rate in Gaza is 0.4% per year. That would mean that in 2 years, for the 2.1 million people who live in Gaza, that would amount to around 17,000, and I'm rounding down. Which also corresponds to the Doctors Without Borders assumption that 25% of the deaths are natural. The rest of the 75%, they say, are by blasts, not IDF, but maybe also the failed rockets. We're down to 48,000. How many of those are combatants? As for January of 2025, the IDF reported on 20,000 combatants that have been killed, 8,500 of those known by name by Israel, around 15,000 of Hamas, 4,000 of PIJ, 1,000 from other organizations. That brings us down to 28,000. By the way, the latest report is around 30,000, but we'll keep the 20 just for now. How many killed by Hamas punishing its own people for taking food or trying to escape a war zone? Or by rockets fired by the terrorists that land inside of Gaza? Yeah, the Gazans will never publish that number. So, 28,000 uninvolved civilians might have died as a result of Israel and Hamas's own fire. That's a 1 to 1.5 ratio of combatants to civilians. That's one of the lowest in the world. The average being 1 combatant to 9 civilians according to the UN. 1 to 1.5 in a war zone where the civilian population is not allowed to escape by its own Arab neighbors and their own governing body.
في الشمال.
ليش ما نزلتش على الجنوب لسه؟
كيف بدنا نطلع وقفلنا في الطريق يا معلم.
إيه جماعة حماس؟
جماعة حماس.
شو بيحكوا يعني؟
لك والله عرفت في الشيخ لا يعني يرجعوا الناس تطشهم.
الناس خايفة تنزل ولا كيف؟
والله خايفين.
In a war zone where the enemy is not only fighting in very dense urban locations, but doing everything it can to embed itself in civilian life and be indistinguishable from civilians by using civilian clothing, hiding weapons caches in civilian infrastructure, creating bases underneath civilian population, etc., etc. And for the cherry on top, if 65,000 people have died during the Israel-Gaza war, how many babies have been born? How has the population changed? Because this can be a genocide if more babies have been born than people died, right? Well, if we do a quick Google search on how many people have died since October 7th in Gaza, you get a number right away. But if we do a quick Google search on the number of babies born, nope, nothing. The Palestinians don't like to post how many babies were born in Gaza since October 7th because, from what I can assume, they respect more death than life. It's more important to them, death than life. Neither does the UN for some reason. So we have to calculate the number ourselves through a variety of not very nice sounding UN articles, okay? So, from October of 2025, 50,000 babies were born until June of 2024. In 2024, 130 daily born in Gaza, so that's an addition of 23,000 babies for the second half of 2024. And around 17,000 in the first half of 2023. That's around 90,000 babies. A third more than Hamas's claim of total people that died. So Gaza's population is rising. So that's why they need an extensive analysis and documents and 100 pages analysis to try and prove if Israel is committing a genocide, because they need to walk around in circles instead of just talking straight and to the point. Does Israel have the means and the ability to destroy the Gazan population in whole or in part? Yes, definitely, no question about it. Right? Right. Has it done so in 2 years? No. So the conclusion a fourth grader could arrive at this point is that there is no intent in destroying the Gazan population. Oh, by the way, did you know that Hamas uses a Google Doc to know the people themselves, right, who has died during the war? Meaning that anyone who wants to receive any compensation or help or just add a little bit to the death toll can simply do it themselves. No one will question their integrity. So anybody who has any family member that they haven't found that might have been under the rubble is there. Anybody who just wants to add to the death toll and people who have died before the war is there. So ladies and gentlemen, the conclusion is that when you see people just quoting the number 680,000 like it's a fact, now you know exactly that these people don't even know where that number comes from. And forget even read the article itself, haven't even read the paragraph where that number was quoted. They just see a number and say, oh, this is good for demonizing Israel. Let's use it. That's a fact. From now on, that's a fact. When it's not. It's a prediction. It's a estimate, a very, very rough estimate based on another prediction. If you need to lie or twist your narrative every time to try and prove something, then just understand that your position is not based on facts, it's not based on reality. So now you know that anybody you see quoting this number is just trying to demonize Israel instead of actually trying to arrive at truth, trying to arrive at a means to end the war. It's sad, but that's a reality. So, guys, if this video helped you gain any new information, you learned something new, and you think it's worth a share, please share with whoever you see fit. And all the ways to support me to keep doing this are linked in the description below. I have a Patreon, I have a Buy Me a Coffee. I don't post any exclusive content to my Patreon because every time I have any free time to do this content, I just publish it to the people because I want to educate the people. I want to bring the truth out. So as of right now, I don't have any exclusive content because this is not my day job. So any help and aid for me to keep doing this, hopefully I can do this one day full time, would be extremely appreciated. So thank you so much for sticking around. And yeah, I'm Israel Chai.